If you've ever wondered how you can go from a lackluster live launch with so-so results to a successful, profitable promotion, this video is for you. I'm going to dive into the 5 steps that you should take after every live launch to make your next one more successful, no matter how well it went. Even if you got the great results, there's definitely things you can improve on to skyrocket those sales. Hi, I'm Nikki Traylor. I help coaches, course creators, and digital product owners make more money from their products and programs by selling more and retaining more customers. Stay tuned so you have the exact steps to grow your launches and bring in more cash for your business. The best, most important step that you can take after a live launch is to debrief everything, from the data to the revenue, and even how you felt throughout the process. I know that debrief is one of the least sexy words on the planet, but if you don't debrief your launches or your funnels even, you're leaving money on the table, and you're leaving your next move to guesswork. Guess what doesn't produce the best results? Even if you're getting good results, there is always room for improvement, so I always recommend doing this process. By looking at all elements of your launch or funnel and taking note of what worked well versus what didn't work so well, you can create a strategy to improve your sales time after time. So what kind of things should you be looking at? Well, for launches and funnels, the first thing to start with is revenue. Did you hit your goal? What could have been better? And look at what you were hoping to achieve versus what you actually achieved. If you absolutely smashed through your goals as well, take a note of that and by what percentage, and just look at those figures and see you can break down how you got there. The other thing it's really worth looking at is things like email stats. So how many people were opening your emails and how many people were clicking through to your sales page from each email. By looking at every single email individually, you have an idea of which messages performed well, which calls to action performed well, and all of that good stuff that you can use to calculate your conversion rates, aka how many people turned into sales. The other thing you want to look at is your sales page conversion rate. So how many people landed there versus how many people bought. And again, it's very simple maths, but knowing those numbers gives you a benchmark to work towards the next time you launch. I also love to look at audience size and audience growth. The size of your audience is one of the biggest things that impacts the success of a launch. The more people you have in your audience, for example, as long as they are warm and engaged, the more sales you are likely to make. This is why I think between launches, if you're launching one offer from one year to the next, you want to focus on audience growth as a key thing to measure yourself against. So say you grow your audience by 1,000 people between your launch, you've increased the number of people who are likely to buy. If you did anything specific to grow your audience, then note that down as well. Look at how it worked versus how it didn't work. By looking at how much you grew your audience by and what methods you used to do that, you can figure out which one was the most successful and you can take that forward into your next launch. So say you decided to participate in some kind of bundle or speaking at some kind of summit and you got 200 new people into your world. Did that increase your conversion rates? Did it decrease your conversion rates? And you can figure out from there whether those people were good leads or whether they were just adding numbers to your email list. If your conversion rates went up and your audience grew, or they stayed the same, you know that that audience growth method was working for your business. It was bringing in people that were likely to become paying customers, which is of course what we want. If you use paid advertising in your launch as well, things like Facebook ads, Google ads, you want to be looking at the ROI on those. So what was the return on ad spend and how much did it cost for every single lead that came into your business? With this data, you can analyze whether your ads were performing well or whether it was kind of a costly experiment. All of this data I like to pull from my last 2 or 3 launches and compare each one. So this will give you an idea of your average benchmarks, like your typical conversion rates, your typical email open rates, and your typical click-through rates on emails. And then you'll kind of know whether what you did in this previous launch was aligned with that. Was it better? Was it worse? How did it perform? And what did you do differently? That way you can kind of pinpoint what worked well and what didn't. For example, if your conversion rates went down, is there a specific email that you can pinpoint that to or specific messaging? If you received a lot of questions or feedback on your offer as well, is there anything that you can change to make it more obvious next time? So if you were receiving hundreds of questions, maybe something was missing in your messaging. Maybe that's something you need to add an email about or mention on your sales page again, just to make sure that people are aware. This saves you so much time during that sales process because if you're having lots of back and forth with people, then that's questions that you're answering, you're being quite hands-on through that process, and that makes your launch quite draining. You want to get this process as hands-off as possible, reducing sales conversations, reducing questions, so that everything is answered on your sales page, in your emails, and all of the other communications that you're sharing, so that that is doing the heavy lifting for you. The reason launches get quite stressful is that you're having to do it all, as well as preparing the assets in advance. If you're answering a ton of questions as well in the DMs, in your emails, in person, on sales calls, that is all stuff that's eating into your schedule when you're already so busy. So do yourself a favor and try and cut down on that stuff. Improve on your messaging for next time, and every time you launch, it'll get easier and easier. I also really recommend taking some time to reflect on how you felt throughout your launch. Did it feel easy? Did it feel hard? Were you relaxed? Were you stressed? Pinpoint what was happening at the time, what emotions were running high. And again, you can look at maybe why that was. Think specifically about what made you feel a certain way. So if you were stressed, was it the fact that you didn't leave enough time to plan or enough time to create all the assets you need? And what can you do next time? Like start preparing a whole month earlier to save you from feeling that same way again. If, for example, there was anything that made you feel particularly good, maybe you took a day off in the middle of your launch to go to a spa and that made you feel great, do that again. Whatever it is that you were feeling at the time, you want to pinpoint why and start thinking about those reasoning and what you can do to incorporate more of that into your next launch. So anything that made you feel good, double down on it. Anything that made you feel bad, we want to get rid of. I've created a full list of questions that I use to debrief in my launches. You can download a free copy at the bottom here and then start playing around with it. Look at your last launch and start figuring out what you can take forward to do better in your next launch. The second tip for growing your launches is have conversations with your audience. If your audience aren't buying like you expected, perhaps you didn't hit your sales goals, you need to dive deeper into why that happened. You are not a mind reader, so never assume that they just didn't want what you're buying. Sometimes there's a really simple fix that means you can sell more next time. And sometimes it can be for a totally unrelated reason to you, your offer, your launch. Like for example, right now, I've been in the middle of moving house for a few months. I've been spending so much energy and so much time planning for that I have not had time to commit to as many programs as I normally would take part in, for example. And so this means that I'm less likely to buy something, even if it excites me. But that's nothing to do with the offer. That's nothing to do with the person selling. It's more just my time and my headspace is not there. The other thing is as well, I'm looking to now become a homeowner. And so at this point in my life, all I can think about and all of my energy and money is going towards that process. And so that means I have a lot less disposable income to spend on things. Your audience is full of people like me who have their own lives going on. Having conversations with your audience can be so valuable. You can really get underneath what is really going on in their heads rather than just thinking, maybe my course was too expensive or maybe my messaging was wrong. It may not have been that. It could just have been a really terrible time for them. So how do you get that information that you need out of your audience? I prefer to get on calls with them, and some people are going to find this scary, but honestly it's the best way to get the information you need, because if you're using a survey, for example, you don't have the opportunity to ask follow-up questions. Whereas if you're on a call and someone says something interesting, you can dive deeper into that rather than just getting a generic response like, I didn't have the money or I didn't have the time. People will actually take the time to hop on a call with you and talk through what's going on in their life so that you can actually understand their daily situation. This helps you approach your sales with much more empathy and stop with the high pressure tactics that are leaving your audience feeling burnt out and you feeling stressed as well. Regardless of whether someone did or didn't buy, you want to go deeper and understand what drove that decision. If they didn't buy, was your offer not a great fit? And why not? Did the messaging hit home or not? Did they miss something important that could have actually helped them realize this offer was exactly what they needed? Sometimes it can really be as simple as someone not being in the same time zone as you and not realizing that they can attend the calls live, or it not necessarily working with their schedule. So have you really made it clear that they can catch up calls on replays, for example, or that they have more access to you so that actually it doesn't really hinder their experience in the program? Other things that might not be clear is the full outcome of what they're going to get out of your program. So is this going to help them 10x their sales, for example, but maybe they came into it thinking, what I actually need is help with my content creation. I always love speaking to both people who bought and people who didn't buy, so you can understand both decisions. With that info, you'll be able to create something relevant, test new ideas, or articulate your current offers better. If someone bought because of a specific feature, can you talk about it more in your next emails, for example? Or if someone specifically didn't buy because they didn't get access to a certain amount of one-to-one support, is that something you can add on, even if it's an extra additional cost to that person? The insights you can get from this process are honestly priceless. They can help you create new offers and give your audience exactly what they're looking for so that it increases your sales the next time. There is no other way of doing this. To understand the next step in this process, I want to talk through the biggest reasons that launches fail. And typically it's that there either wasn't enough people seeing the offer, or the offer wasn't a perfect fit for the people who were seeing it. Once you've spoken to your audience and understand exactly what it is they're looking for, you can use that data to make your offer an obvious hell yes. You want this to be so good that they can't say no. And that means it needs to tick boxes on relevancy. Is this something that they care about? Urgency? Why do they need to buy this right now? Irresistibility. Does it tick their boxes in how they like to learn, to grow, or to get the outcome that you're offering? For example, if you're selling a group coaching program, does that format actually work for the people you're talking to? Do they want to get on a weekly hot seat style call? Or would they prefer to have one-to-one support? Are there other ways you can provide support so that they can consume content in a way that works for them? So this could be things like, if you have an online course, could you add a private podcast feed so that they can listen to your content and consume it on the go? If that works for your offer, that's something that you can consider adding in as an easy win. It's something that doesn't take too much time, and it's something that may help your audience to consume the content and see it as a no-brainer investment. Look at every aspect of your offer, from the content, to the support, to the time they have access to it, to how it's delivered, and see if you can make it an even bigger hell yes. Once you have nailed your offer, the next step is to look at your messaging and your copy. Without total clarity on your offer, it's impossible to write compelling copy that'll actually convert. But now you have the insights from your audience, you can strengthen your copy to speak to their current needs, their fears, their desires, and their dreams, which is the thing that makes copy convert so much better. Whatever was missing before from your messaging, now is the time to add it in. And to be sure to explain any exciting changes to your offer so people can understand what's new the next time you bring it up for launch. This also shows you're listening to their wants and needs. Hello, brownie points. If all of this feels overwhelming, I have templates, products, and courses that teach you how to write killer launch copy available down in the links below. Once you've nailed your offer and your copy, the final piece of the puzzle is to make sure you're sending the right messages to the right people. Your audience is likely burned out from constant sales messages. So to avoid being another voice screaming, "Buy my stuff," you should aim to keep as many of your emails as relevant as possible to the person reading them. How? The magic of tech. Now, I don't want you to freak out if using tech is new to you, but this technique is very simple, and you can make it more complicated if you're a bit more experienced. I'm talking about segmenting your email list. I'm going to talk about some basic segmenting and also a couple of advanced tips if you're a little bit more experienced. Segmenting your audience into different categories can be a game changer for your sales results in a launch, a funnel, or just in general. And most email service providers make it so easy. I love ConvertKit as it comes with so many functions. It's reliable, it's easy to use, and it's a really powerful tool that grows with you. They also have a free version, so check this out if you don't have an email tool that you already use to send business emails. The easiest way to segment your list is to add tags in your email service provider. I use tags to show the products and services that people have bought or downloaded, things that people have registered as interested in, waitlist participants, and so much more. For one client, we even use them to separate out clients who are business owners versus employees. It just helps you understand more about what topics interest your audience and why they joined your list in the first place. You can then send emails that seem relevant to people with a specific tag and exclude everyone else. This is so that those people don't get bombarded with every single email you're sending, and they don't get tired of seeing irrelevant content. If they get irrelevant content, this trains them to stop opening your emails, and then that's more people and more sales you've lost out on. Highly recommend giving this a try and just keeping it simple to start with and seeing how you get on. Yes, it'll feel like you have to create and send more emails, but you can be quite smart about this and tailor emails, tweak them very slightly from one segment to the next so that you are cutting down your workload. If you're no stranger to segmenting your email list, you can also use it as an opportunity to track certain actions that a reader takes. This is where it gets a little more advanced, but honestly, this stuff is going to change the game for how you make sales from email. Every time a reader takes a specific action in your audience, you want to be tagging them. So if they start viewing specific sales pages, say they view a sales page for one offer multiple times, you could probably tag them as interested in whatever offer it is. And some softwares even have an opportunity to score your audience. So you could give them a higher score if they're clearly clicking a lot of links in your emails and looking through stuff. That means they're highly engaged and probably your next most likely people to buy. You can score your readers based on the number of specific actions they've taken. So think about what would make sense for your business. If you sell 3 different offers and someone is clicking all 3 of your sales pages, the chances are they are desperate to work with you and they're just looking for the right next step to take. If someone is only clicking links for one of those offers, the chances are they're interested, and so you could follow up with specific targeted messages, maybe a specific discount, a limited time offer for them to take that next step with you. Maybe they're just looking for a little nudge to push them in the direction of purchase. Now, this isn't always the case. We don't want to go following up and spamming people, but at the same time, following your customer's behavior is a really smart way to understand their sales cycle and their sales pattern, and also understand what they're interested in, so you can give them more of that. Some of these features I've spoken about are only going to be available on paid versions of some of this software. So software like ConvertKit, which I mentioned before, or ActiveCampaign. Other software has this feature, but I am not an expert in choosing the tag. These would be my top 2 recommendations based on the ones that I've tried though. So if you're at a loss else and you already don't have one that you love, I'd recommend starting with one of those. But if you have one you love already, stick with that. You're going to be fine, and it's much easier to use a software that you're already familiar with. Another really advanced way to segment your list is with a quiz. A strategic quiz can divide your list into different personality types, stages of business, level of skill in your area of expertise, whatever you want. This can help you create marketing messages, offers, and content that's all relevant to every person who get a specific result. It's a lot of work to set it up and do it properly, but it's so effective. Everyone that gets a specific result, you can follow up with a certain email sequence and link them to specific offers that you're selling that seem relevant to where they're at in their business, for example. If you're an online business owner, coach, or course creator who wants to increase sales in your next launch, I have a special offer on my launch growth strategy sessions for subscribers to this channel. If all of that seems daunting, but you know you need this to scale your business, I'll run through these strategies for you, from helping you to optimize your offer to speaking to your customers and coming up with a plan to scale your next launch. You can find the link to apply for one of these in the links below, along with a discount code. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more launch strategies that you can apply in your business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.